Back with closing trades right here on 18 hours. Still flat for the index, still led by banks, media, even technology actually is not doing bad at all. In fact, everything from Oracle Finance to Wipro, Birlasoft, LTTS, they're all holding up in the green as we speak right now. In fact, Wipro has been quite the mover from the word go. A 4% bump up on that stock. Emphasis, Coforge are the other ones which have been seeing some fairly strong traction. I can't say the same about some of the other large caps. It's a very sedate day for a TCS, Infosys, or for that matter, even an HCL Technologies right now. But that said, Rahul wanted to get your thoughts in because I think the weight is pretty equal when you talk about tailwinds and headwinds both for the IT sector. But what about the investment climate?
So I think overall, if we look at it, I think the IT, again, in last one quarter, if you look at it, I think one of the best performing sector in terms of performance. Obviously, it's backed by the results which had come in the last quarter. And looks like the IT as a sector, which has bottomed out. And I think going forward, I think what we are looking at is obviously the Fed's decision on the interest rates, which will augur well for the lot of BFI segment as a sector to again the orders coming back more from that segment which had been muted if I have to look at it. So I feel that entire IT as a sector which was undervalued and now looks like that I think things are back into momentum. And what we see, I think the mid caps and the large caps, both stocks have done well. So going forward, I think still that there's a lot of value in the large cap stock space. So what we've been liking is HCL Tech in that space, TCS and the large cap front and Mindtree, all these three stocks, what we've been liking in that space.
Tech, TCS, LTI, Mindtree, these are the top bets within large cap IT. But before we went into that break and snapped that line, Rahul, I was asking about Bajaj Housing Finance. Once it does list on the bourses, and the expectation is it can list anywhere between 130 bucks to 150 rupees because the issue price was around 70 rupees. Would you still buy afresh at those levels?
It's a difficult question.
Or would you book profits then? Will you be tempted to book profits then, seeing that 100% gain on the ticker?
So I think, yes, I would be tempting to book profits on Bajaj Housing Finance. And if it's a 100% listing gain, if it happens, then I'm sure I would look at booking profits in that stock.
That's where the long-term investors would come in. What was it, SEBI, right, which came out with that note that most IPO investors tend to flip either within a week's time or within a year's time. So I guess that
but if you see 100% pop on day one, I mean, look at the kind of return on investment. If you annualize it, I don't think I can find even the number for that. But interesting, let's see what happens on Monday. Does it actually list with the kind of enthusiasm that we are seeing, or perhaps something changes over the weekend because global cues have been fairly volatile as well. And of course, in the coming week, the biggest talking point would be the Fed meeting and the outcome from there. 17th and 18th is the day when the US Fed meeting happens, largely priced in a 25 basis point hike. Let's see where we go from there. But Aditya Arora is with us, so let me take it across to him and get a better sense as to what he's making of the market mood right now. Aditya, the question is for you on the market setup.
Hi, good afternoon. Look, I think markets are pretty range bound. We saw a fantastic move on Nifty yesterday, but that kind of a move is lagging in Bank Nifty. Although we are seeing, market is very divided. Large caps are doing pretty well, but people are complaining that their small cap and mid cap portfolio is not doing well. So a lot of stocks are doing, we can see a lot of distribution also on a lot of small caps and mid caps. So I remain very selective on various stocks, and on index level, I'm constructive on Bank Nifty. Maybe a catch-up rally is pending on Bank Nifty with a lot of banking names forming very bullish pattern like ICICI Bank, Kotak Bank, Axis Bank, etc. Whereas, Nifty could underperform now and Bank Nifty could outperform. This is one theme which I'm looking for. And if I talk about index of small cap and mid cap, then I remain, pretty bearish on that index because a lot of stocks, you can see a lot of distribution pattern and a lot of mid caps and small caps. So one should be very careful in that pocket because post the Fed meet, 5 to 10% correction cannot be ruled out.
Some correction coming in perhaps on the way. In the meantime, while of course IT continues to hold out, banks are lending support right now. Rahul, just wanted to understand what your general strategy is right now in the market. Have you deployed or recommended deploying any fresh cash anywhere other than of course the Bajaj Finance IPO?
So I think obviously the way the markets have been, and I think I would still be invested in the markets 100% of it. And it looks like any additional capital or someone has, I think still looks interesting. So I think the sector, one sector which is fairly underperformed, if I look at, they have performed, but fairly little, relatively underperformed versus Nifty is the banking universe. So I think way the 12.5% kind of a credit growth guidance from most of the banks and 15% earning growth from most of the large private as well as public banks. So my sense, I think this sector is fairly undervalued versus the other sectors, if I have to. So I think banking looks fairly interesting, and I don't think so. The risk versus reward here in this entire sector looks great from here. So PSU as well as private both. So PSU, a lot of large PSUs as well, banks have corrected 15%, 10 to 15% on an average from the recent highs. So I think one can make a basket in that. Private sector banks fairly also has underperformed if I look at a couple of years, but I think still looks interesting. Ways of HDFC, ICICI, Axis, I think all three looks good. SBI, Canada, and a Bank of Baroda in a PSU pack. So I think 5-6 bank one should allocate as a basket and still be invested in this financials.
Basket approach is what you should follow when it comes to the financials. I'll pick your brains around Bajaj Auto as well, but before that, let's hear out a slice of the conversation we had with the management earlier, because they were fairly excited about the kind of response their bike has seen so far, and they're expecting that they will be able to scale it up further as we go along. Hear out what Mr. Rakesh Sharma had to tell us.
Monsoons have such an impact that not only deep rural, but they affect semi-urban and urban areas also in our kind of segment. They have a very good monsoons have a very uplifting effect right through in our kind of the two-wheeler and three-wheeler customer base. Actually, the origins of this revival are at least 2 or 3 quarters ago, and I've been saying that fundamentally this revival is sitting on the revival of the economy now reaching the pockets of our kind of customer. 70% of our customers earn a monthly income of about 30,000-40,000 rupees per month. And post-COVID, they were quite battered. Their savings had got hammered. And when the post-COVID recovery started, it started from the top. And by the time it has affected this category of customers, it has taken that much long. And that is what fundamentally we are saying. Now, on top of that, a good monsoon releases some optimism, a nice budget, which did affect optimism positively to these people. All these things are add-on. But all this is sitting on the fundamental economic recovery now reaching the bottom of the pyramid.
Right, okay, that's the word coming in from Bajaj Auto. And Rahul, I guess it's been well established, right, that it's the two-wheelers which are sort of, making hay as opposed to the kind of slowdown that you are seeing in passenger vehicles. That's pretty much reflective in the stock prices as well and how they've moved. Case in point being a Bajaj Auto or a Hero MotoCorp or the underperformance for that matter from a Tata Motors or M&M as well, stalling at that 2,700 thereabout mark. How is it that you're maneuvering within autos right now?
So I agree with you. I think we've seen that. I think when we saw August numbers of auto dealers and September's, which yet to come, but I think August what we saw, and I think auto dealers and as well as manufacturers, what we can see is I think two-wheelers are still in line with the numbers. So and it's visible in the prices also where the stocks have moved up. So I feel that yes, there's a shift between a passenger vehicle to two-wheelers. So I think yes, Bajaj, Hero, Eicher, all three stocks looks quite interesting and they're fared well. And I think still there's a room that investors will make money in all these three sectors coming up the festive season, the mood, and plus the fresh new launches by most of them. So I think this two-wheelers will definitely do well versus the passenger vehicles, and we've seen that in the prices as well. And I think looks that two-wheelers to continue to roar in a couple of months more from here.
Right, okay. Rahul, good to have you on the show. We'll let you go on that note. Thanks as always for taking the time out.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.